You're watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burke Godwin, and I'm excited to meet and introduce you to our next guest. She's a former Fortune 500 corporate leader who quit a six-figure career job publicly on LinkedIn in front of millions of people. LinkedIn is, I think, what she's here to talk about, and I am fascinated by the subject. So welcome to the program, Dr. Melissa Henault.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to be here.
Well, I am excited. I was reading all about you. So you're the founder and CEO of Burnout to All Out. Yes. And I love this concept, and I really want to dive into the Facebook to the LinkedIn conversation, because I used to work in an agency where we did a lot of Facebook ads, and I have a lot to say, and I want to hear what you have to say about it. But I have to hear first about the quitting of your job publicly on LinkedIn. How did that all happen?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was experiencing burnout as a corporate leader in a Fortune 500. I had 2 little kids and in diapers, and I was just completely burnt out, and ultimately built a secondary revenue stream on the side, actually leveraging LinkedIn, growing this business alongside my day job until it matched my corporate income. And I had the confidence and audacity to publicly announce it on LinkedIn, and that's when things went viral, and I realized how many active users there were of the platform that weren't actually participating and posting or sharing their own content, but were lurkers, and realized what an incredible opportunity it was to market that was unsaturated moving forward.
Yeah.
And
what year
I would
was
say
that?
That is what brought me I'm sorry?
What year was that? Sorry to interrupt you.
Gosh, that was like six years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That's great. Well, you used the word saturated, and I was definitely thinking of that, because I know that doing Facebook ads, I did them, 10 plus years ago at an agency, and then was working up until about 5 years ago doing it. And it became so saturated. And now with all the changes on Facebook advertising, you can't capture the same statistics. You can't reach the same target audiences anymore. And LinkedIn is where it's at. It's not saturated. I mean, even not yet, right?
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things is, like you said, Facebook and Instagram are very established platforms that have very complicated algorithms, and they're very saturated in the number of users that there are. So it's harder to win the game, especially if you're a newer entrepreneur, a newer business owner, than catapulting into LinkedIn. That I use the word naive or unadulterated when it comes to algorithms. You post something, and like your network and your network's network actually see it, right?
Right.
And that's not the case over on Facebook and Instagram. So your return on investment is so much higher for the activity and the work you put out on LinkedIn.
Do they have the same type of, I haven't explored advertising on LinkedIn. Do they have the same type of platform where you can sponsor posts and put some money behind it, so more of your leads and maybe people that aren't already following you can see your content?
They do, but what I will say, there's kind of 2 sides to the coin on that.
Okay.
And the first is that they do have an ads opportunity. However, you're competing with very deep pockets with corporate, because corporations are typically the ones paying for ads over there. However, the other side of the coin is a lot of newer entrepreneurs find that instead of paying a fortune for ads over on Instagram and Facebook, they're able to grow a very niche network on LinkedIn and an audience that they own, and they don't need to pay an agency to market to them, because they own the network. It's an asset they own, and they get massive visibility over there that they're not getting over on Instagram and Facebook without paying a fortune for ads, and then still not sure if the right audience is seeing the content.
Yeah, I love that concept. And, I want to break that down a little bit. So if there is a business owner, he's got his own personal LinkedIn page, and then also there's a page for the small business, or it's an entrepreneur that has, the page for themselves, but then also for their business. Do you have, you want to post the same things on both? And what is the strategy to going out and getting more people that you're connected with?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So The first answer, the personal page versus the business page. What is really up and coming in 2023, and I think we saw it a lot in 2022, is regardless of your business, is having a personal brand. So even CEOs of large corporations being present with their own personal page, and then even like you think about your big folks and influencers in entrepreneurship like Gary Vee. If you go to his LinkedIn page, it is his name, it is his personal brand, and then his subsidies of personal individual companies underneath. So you can have your business page that can support and promote your business pages through your personal feed, but personal brands, and there's a lot of great data out there that consumers will be more trustworthy and purchase more and spend more with a CEO who has a personal brand, who is present on media. So to this day and moving forward, personal brands are huge, even on LinkedIn if you have a business page.
Yeah, I was just talking with somebody about that, the personalization of companies and brands, and people are wanting to see, because things are more transparent now and they want the authenticity buzzword, but it's a real thing. And if you can actually see the person, that is running the company, that's going to help your know, like, and trust factor down the line.
100%. They're willing to spend more, and they trust you more, right?
Yeah.
And be willing to stand for something in your personal brand, right?
So how often would you say, because I do believe that a lot of business owners think, I don't have time for social media, and they lump in LinkedIn to that. What would you say to somebody that doesn't think, that maybe doesn't think they have time, but, would you say, hey, carve out 10 minutes of your day, go in and see what your contacts are doing, like and comment on what they're doing. Is that the kind of thing you would suggest?
Yeah, and it's interesting. And I think that's because people get so overwhelmed with the other platforms. You and I, with your experience on Facebook, would know this. It's like you can win by being consistent on any platform, but it's the definition of consistency that's different. So the definition of consistency on Instagram today is like 18 stories a day and 3 reels a day. What busy business owner has time to do that, right? But when you get over to LinkedIn, if you could just post 3 or 4 times a week on your page, you are winning. I'll share with you a statistic. Only 4% of users of LinkedIn, 4%, actually post content at all. But this was the #1 revenue year ever for LinkedIn, and the highest number of accounts created because of, and we can talk about this in a second, but it has everything to do with the economy, right?
Yeah.
And so, so you get a massive return on investment for way less quote unquote work on social media by just being present a couple of days a week with some thoughtful content that you're putting out. You're not having to dance and like lip sync to music.
Thank God.
Or,
Right.
whatever. Right?
Yes. Well, and that just scares so many people away. I mean, there are some people that do that well, and more power to them, but it's not the norm. It's not the majority of people that know that. And you can really connect with like-minded people so much easier because there's not as much noise happening on that platform. There's not as many there's no cat videos, in fact. It's not about that. So it is really about business. So I really, gosh, you're going to be our LinkedIn specialist. Will you keep coming back to the show to talk about this? Because I think this is really important for business owners to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many great things we could talk about with the economy and how counter-cyclical activity is over on LinkedIn and the mindset of the user over there, and why it's an incredible opportunity to market and sell over there.
And so is there something I was reading in the notes, the LinkedIn recipe? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think that in general, thinking about the LinkedIn recipe, I actually have a LinkedIn checklist, but I can speak to that. It's just showing up a couple of days a week, sharing dynamic content, and being, when I say dynamic, it's like you can write a short form post, you can write an article. A lot of business owners, have like nurture emails. You can take those nurture emails and create articles out of that, right? But it's just simply showing up because only 4% of users are actually using the platform in the first place. So put a stake in the ground and know that when people do a Google search, LinkedIn plays a major game with SEO, where I challenge any of your listeners to go type into Google type your company name or your name as the CEO of your company and see what doesn't show up on Google with your LinkedIn profile. And is it representing you in such a way that's going to draw your potential client in to reach out and want to learn more from you or purchase from you? It is like the cheapest website version, right? It's a website for all intents and purposes,
Right.
especially your newer entrepreneurs. It is a one-stop shop for a business owner to be seen and heard, not just on LinkedIn. And I think that's the key to the recipe is people see LinkedIn as just a social media platform. They don't understand the game it plays in SEO and search function on mainstream searches on Google. And that's the long game. You're not playing, to beat the Instagram or what's
the
hot
daily
today.
algorithm. It's the long game for SEO. And really quickly, do you suggest having a blog where you link out to the blog page with that article, or can you just type it right into the post on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked, because that's how you win with SEO. Is you want to actually write the article in article form on LinkedIn. You get an option when you go to post. You can choose article, write it. And then what happens is that immediately becomes searchable over on Google. What you don't want to do is put a link to a blog post on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn doesn't want you to pull people
That's what I was wondering. They don't want you to leave. Well, Dr. Melissa, thank you so much for, I'm just going to call you Dr. Melissa now, if you don't mind. And I hope that we can have you back. I love this conversation, so thank you so much for your wisdom. Burnout2allout.com and at Melissa_Halt on Instagram. And stick around for more America Trends right after this.